Hello, gentles and ladymen. This is Bison Gaming. I am joined with my good friend Steven. How's it going?
What's up?
And
Good to be back.
I am also joined by Bisoner, who is the second time appearing on the channel, but really it's kind of the first one he's been actively featured on. How's it going, Bisoner?
Meisner for the cool friends at our server, the Sunbros, and Proner. Hi there.
I don't know what he said, but it had a really thick accent. Let's move on.
Oh god.
Okay, so I went over the pup last week, but the video quality was terrible because I didn't have access to my computer or the internet at the time, so I was by myself and recording on my phone, which was not efficient. So we're redoing it, but and not to mention that was the pup, and this is the update, and there may have been some changes. We've also learned a fair bit about the state of the game in its current patch, and let me tell you, there are quite a few bugs, many of which need hot fixes ASAP because they are meta-defining bugs, and we will be going over that very, very soon, like probably the next day or two. But just for today, we will be going over the update, and we'll be mentioning a few of the bugs, but not really showing them off until the next video. So with that out of the way, let's begin. Okay, we got stability stuff, mostly just
There's one big one in there.
Oh, really? Okay.
There is one big in the stability for any fans of the Sheepbot. There's gonna be a lot more Sheepbot games.
I don't know what that means.
This makes it so that when Dunamai's bot is looking for games, it's a much better chance of finding a good game.
Dunamai made a bot to find people games?
Yeah, it's a bot called Sheepbot. It's usually streaming on Twitch at night when there's no other content creators. It just cycles through any game that's playing by itself.
Oh, that's pretty cool. Alright, yeah, let's keep going. Civilization balance. This is the shit we're all here for. The American Citadel, Maya, with the Maya native civ, fixed an issue that prevented the Chinese from properly training their banner armies. Very cool. I don't think anybody. Yeah, cool things. Adding things that were supposed to be there, that is always a good thing. Ascari range damage multiplier versus cavalry reduced in volley mode. Thank God. That unit was kind of silly. I actually didn't like them at first, but I came to love them after the fact when I realized how many extra perks they had over some of the other units like Highlanders.
Yeah. Extremely underused.
Like high speed, high range, high damage multiplier. They were great. And the battle canoe.
Like most things with African royals, really unexplored so far.
The battle canoe has its damage reduced from 14 to 13. Now, this is also in a combination. I don't know if this has always been a thing or if it was just highlighted recently, but after the pup note release that had this change in it, Gideon, the guy in our Discord server, made a little short about how the canoes don't have are one of the only units in the game that can still flat out miss targets, where they will just shoot at a still ship and there's like a 50-50 shot your arrow just flies off into the middle of nowhere and doesn't hit anything.
Yeah.
And so
that's awesome. Related as the battle canoe is like the Ethiopia House caravel replacement, I believe.
Okay, so this is not affecting those native units. This is a different boat.
Yeah.
Okay. My apologies. Boyar's House of Feanor fixed an issue where boyars from the home city would not upgrade to guard status. Okay. I believe that's because House of Feanor doesn't train boyars, but they do have like a tech that shifts some of them. Is that accurate?
No, they do have. You can train them, but this would be an issue where you have native allies cards.
Got it.
And so you wouldn't be getting the guard status ones.
And then the command post building, fixed interactions with certain cards and technologies. This one confuses me because is this just a campaign change? Because I don't think any civilizations actually have access to the command post as a constructible building.
I believe I believe it might affect the commandery for Malta. Because it is a command post.
Well, no, it's not the command post, though. It's a separate building called the commandery.
SPC, single player campaign.
Okay. That's what SCP stands for. I was wondering.
I mean, I'm guessing.
SPC, please.
Consulate units fix several discrepancies between consul units and their Royal Guard unit equivalents. This is in relation to the previous patch, which completely overhauled all the Royal Guard units. I guess they just forgot to do it with the consulates as well, which makes sense.
Yep.
Okay. Corsair Marksman hit points increased to 110 from 95. Corsair Marksman got a really sizable buff this time. That's like a good 15%. Almost 15.
Yeah,
they were.
Or no, it's a little
believe
more
in-
than 15, actually.
I do
Yeah.
believe a few patches ago they used to have around 130. They were heavily nerfed.
Ah.
They're just
Cover mode
dialing it.
corrected several unit attacks that were too high in cover mode. Cover mode continues to be standardized in everything, and there will no longer be any special units that just have the same attack in cover mode, like Inquisitors.
Except
Except what?
it still works in one of in the pirate units that you get for the Revolting as Berbers, I believe. There's a card that gives them a ranged attack, and going into cover mode with them still allows them to get full damage.
In this
out of
current
this-
patch, as accurate as it's
Yes,
that is so
I
funny.
do
they,
believe so.
they still can't get cover mode right.
it's something I forgot to tell you to make a video out of, but it's extremely buzzed. It used to be better because they have some weird They had some weird multipliers. They're cav, but they would still they had the positive multiplier on the pistol shot against dragoons and against heavy infantry, and they get affected by counter infantry rifling. It's some completely insane things.
Giant Grenadiers had their population cost reduced from 3 to 2, and hit points from 300 to 250, but their melee damage was also reduced, but their anti-cavalry damage multipliers were increased.
Okay, I want to get your guys' opinions here, because I think this is a sizable buff, but there's been a lot of heated discussion.
Now,
The
per population, it is a buff. However, it hasn't changed the Giant Grenadier price at all, and you're just getting less stats for the same cost at this point. And I think, in general, with mercenary builds, you're more limited by cost than you are by population. So I still see this as a nerf.
To be completely honest, in normal gaming, as in outside of treaty in rush games, the only thing that this is going to change is probably going to be the nerf to Sweden, because I believe only Sweden has a card that sends them in H3.
Germany also has a Giant Grenadier card, and there's a couple others.
The main thing though is that this unit used to terrify treaty games.
Yeah, they also didn't change any of the Giant Grenadier shipments, so in general you're just getting less stats for your shipment now.
Yeah, it's a nerf to the shipments. But since the population cost was reduced back to 2, I do believe they're going to be terrifying treaty again. Mostly because they still keep the amazing speed and the amazing damage they always dealt, only reducing the amount that they do in melee, but you don't really see that happening too much, especially in treaty.
Granary, my reading of this is that the field aura was expanded specifically for fields, but not for normal gathering. Is that accurate? Does anybody know that?
There was a very long discussion on this morning, actually, in the server, and there was a few tests that were run, including a bug report that I actually need to file. But the Granary aura does now fully support 2 fields. So if you put a Granary in 2 fields, 1 Granary will now cover an entire 2 rings of field.
But does it increase all aura, all gather, like the food gathering as well, or just the fields?
Yeah, it does.
It affects the food gather as well. Oh, that's a sizable buff. That's a really sizable
they've
buff.
had the food gathering buff for actually a while. That was patch or 2 ago.
Okay.
But so it now 1 Granary now can service not 8 fields, but entire 2 ranks. So in theory, you could actually get by with probably 2 Granaries for your entire late game eco.
That's pretty awesome.
There is a little bug that people will see where this does not reflect visually now, but it is happening. So the aura doesn't display correctly on
Okay,
the
so
colors.
the little circle only affects people in the inner ring,
No,
but
you
not
see
the
the
outer ring.
circles, but when you click on the granary,
Yeah, on
it
the
shows
granary
it
it's a
in the
square.
ascending 1.5.
Interesting.
Yeah, so little bug, but it now fully supports 2 rings of fields.
Napoleon gun no longer tagged as gunpowder trooper. XP bounties corrected. So this is specifically a nerf, as it means that the Napoleon guns will no longer gain benefit from the advanced arsenal techs available to Sweden that would affect their Corollians, for example. But it's still being tagged in every other respect. Nope, nothing has multipliers against gunpowder troopers in particular. So this is really just a reduction to the amount of buffs the Napoleon gun can get, and nothing else. The Nukta Warchief no longer classified as a hero and can no longer train Nukta clubmen. Now, this is in direct response to a video that I put out, I think 2 months ago now, showing off the Nukta Clubman Rush. And I put out 2 videos. And to this day, it is actually the only strategy I have designed that it maintained a 100% win rate before it was nerfed. But this needed to happen. It was a nerf that was bound to happen. I mean, the Nukta Clubman counting as a hero made it so that you could buff its stats to ridiculous degrees, and then the fact that it could just train Nukta Clubman on top of that with its stupid high stats was nuts. I've heard some people, Bisoner, in fact, actually was not the first person to tell me this, but he is here now, so I'm going to use him as an example. You had told me earlier that you thought this was a buff because it meant that spies no longer gain a multiplier.
Yeah, it was. I believe it was kind of a small buff because I do recall using the chief primarily as the. Cause I was thinking only about the ability of him being able to train Nutka and not getting killed by spies anymore. As in, he was always the main unit I'd send behind the other enemy units as the first one to attack and start kiting. But
for
considering
me, he was always on the front lines fighting in the
I was
thickets.
on the front line. But the main thing now is that since it doesn't have the hero tag anymore, goodbye extra 50% from all the cards.
Yeah, he no longer gains stat bonuses from the Team Explorer Combat card or just France's Explorer Combat card, or that means not only he loses the 50% HP, but critically the 50% attack, which is a big deal when he has a base attack of like 24 or 20 or 30 or some shit like that.
The main thing as well from that, it used to affect his siege damage. By himself, he could torch down a house in 10 torches.
But now, yes, spies will no longer kill the war chief, and yes, he's still relatively decently buffable using all of France's cards, but you no longer need spies to kill the Nukta war chief, because now, just like any other explorer, like 10 musketeers can do the job. And he's also lost the ability to train Nukta clubmen while fighting on the front lines, which, of course, basically just kills the entire Nukta rush dead in the water, which is fine because it was broken. And it gives me a great sense of pride to know that this was because of me. And I'm not just saying that. I actually had a dev confirm for me that Inquisitors, Nukta war chiefs, and the Knowlton Rangers, which we'll get to later, were all nerfed specifically as a result of my videos, which I take great pride in. And I will continue mentioning that for years.
It is awesome.
Everybody in the Discord is already sick of me. It's my greatest source of pride. Order Bestieros. It cost change from 30 coin and 30 food to 40 wood and 40 food. So this is adding 10 of each resource and swapping coin to wood. This is a big deal. However, the tag here is a little bit misleading because it says consulate in parentheses, and this, you would think that this is referring to the Asian civilizations. However, this is actually a nerf to Ethiopia specifically. Here, Platt, Bison, you guys can take this one.
I mean, kind of kills the strat it used to be part of, where you just spam them forever as Ethiopia.
Yeah, they were so cheap.
The consulate thing is only there to tag them as they're supposed to have the same buffs that consulate units have, which by default is a plus 10% buff to HP and damage. Hence why they're still tagged as consulate. They even still show the little circle when you select them. There's a little circle under them that tags them as consulate units. So that's probably why it was mentioned here.
Now, they are a lot less spammable now, and that's very true, especially because Ethiopia can get coined very, very quickly, thanks to just the extra speed that they get from the shrines. I don't remember what they're called. But even though you can train a lot less of them and your masses are going to be smaller for sure, it should be noted that it is easier to mix in Order Bestieros with Gasquenya now because they both cost the same resource. Steven, are you still here? You've been a little quiet.
Yeah. No, I literally just commented that like this is a needed change. Everyone who's been around has been familiar with just how stupidly easy it was to field these things for 60 res cost. Like, just it is, on one hand, it is sad to lose what was a really potentially interesting Ethiopia strat, but on the other hand, come on, man.
It's funny
it
because
never should have been like that.
Nobody plays Ethiopia, and yet they continue giving them nerfs. It's very entertaining. Though less so for me because I actually picked up Ethiopia recently. Pikeman fixed the missing range increase for several things, and consulate
I would like to call out that this is like I have not kept count, but this is yet another bug that I reported that has been properly addressed. Thank you.
Does anybody know if consulate tercios also refers to the tercios that USA gets with the levy using Spanish immigrants?
That is a good question.
Does anybody have the game pulled up and could test while we keep going?
I'll try. I'll try it. Sure.
Okay, copy.
I do believe that's not the case though, as the ones for USA don't. Do they get shadow tagged?
Yeah, they shadow tagged.
They do get shadow tagged.
They do. Oh.
Yeah.
Might be the case then.
And this, we were actually messing around with this a little bit earlier today on the Discord servers. The Portugal pikemen can get like 4 to 4.5 range now, which is really, really funny. We had a thing where we had 2 pikemen attack the same unit. One was just like a full pike's length behind the other, and he just thrusts his sword at thin air, and the dude standing 8 feet away from him takes damage. It's the funniest thing, man. It really is.
It officializes Pikeman as the best ranged melee unit in the game.
Royal Hunter, House of Oldenburg, range damage decreased to 14 from 15. That's fine. I don't think anybody has any issues with that. That's kind of a minor change.
No one makes the Royal Hunters to fight.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's be real.
You use them for extra settlers.
Yep.
Cards and technologies. Advanced Dock fixed an issue that allowed sending the card infinitely. Why? What purpose does that serve?
Extra
why
HP percentage? I don't know.
Congratulations,
there's
you can
point.
make 3 docks in half a second build speed.
You get to waste a shipment. Like, could you imagine wasting shipments?
We can.
Dock multiple times.
Oh, funny you mentioned wasting shipments, Steven. Stay tuned tomorrow for when we show off the crossbow bug. Oh my god, that's coming up. It's a crazy bug. It completely changes the meta. I could see a situation, however, where say somebody's playing Portugal and wants to do a dock boom. They send advanced docks and they've already sent it. They get a new shipment and they look at their deck and it's available to be sent again. And they go, "Wait, did I send that already, or am I just like gaslighting myself?" You know. And then they send it again, thinking that they didn't send it the first time, and they're like, "Oh shit! Wait, I just used 2 shipments." And I could see that happening, and now that's less likely to happen. So there you go. It would be funny if it stacks, though. That would be really, really funny if you could just get like 3 docks with gigantic levels of range attack if just a single boat comes in. All right, Bastion, City Walls, and City Walls and readouts cost increased to by 200 wood. This is a sizable nerf, especially to the turtle builds, which is fine because I was noticing a turtle meta starting to like creep up a little bit, and I'm glad that that's slowed down by 200 wood now. And this goes along with the heavy fortifications changes, which is a little bit below it. That has an added cost of 250 wood. Now, 250 is not a lot, especially when you're in Age 4. But that's 250 wood slower for you to get your guard upgrades. Or if you do send heavy fortifications, that's one less outpost that you're going to get with those heavy fortifications. You know, so it does make a difference. 250 wood is a small amount, but it's significant.
I don't think it's enough. I mean, anyone who's been around knows I am a AoE 4 naysayer. I do not care for the game. But in one of the few times I will ever speak positively of AoE 4 is that the recent DLC that they're pushing for next week or whatever is changing the way their walls work to include the AoE 3 mechanism of destroying adjacent wall segments, but it also basically removes the concept of a pillared wall. And like, it's getting a lot of positive traction on the AoE 4 side. And the general consensus that I've seen on the official forums, Discord, our Discord, all that, is like, we need to see increased wall costs and move the pillarless wall trick to really hit like the turtle meta that's continuing to develop.
Yeah.
But it's a good start, but it's not enough.
This card right below the Bastion change is that pronounced Caballeros? Or Caballeros?
Caballeros. That's the one for Mexico, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's the Mexico and Spain card that increases Lancer multipliers, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fix some units' attacks not being affected by the card. I wonder if there's any way that it can affect like weird, crazy units that shouldn't get multipliers, like Mahouts or some shit, or Jat Lancers. Can you imagine if the Caballeros affected Jat Lancers?
Oh my god!
5 times infantry multiplier. Let's fucking go.
There's at least
good.
few units we could test for that. Could be the Kizilbash, the native.
Yeah,
maybe even the Brazilian Portuguese Dragoons, because they're kind of are lancers. They have a lance.
I'm actually going to make a note of future shipments to check out in videos, and keep track of things that I want to make videos for. And we're gonna go ahead and put the Caballeros card in there.
See if there are any mats that interface with it. Funny.
By the way, speaking of checking out, the Tertial Pikemen that USA has available after a card, they are indeed the consulate units, and they are only affected by the range change as soon as you reach Age 4.
Copy. That makes sense. Okay. So, but they do get the range change now. That's really nice.
Yeah, they do. Now as soon as you reach Age 4, they go up to 3 range, as they should.
Alright, Cotton Armor from Maya corrected the cost and hit point percentages. Real helpful. Tell me what they do now! You have the game up. Can you check that next? You're gonna be our checker.
I do believe that's a plus 10% to unit HP, but don't quote me on that.
I think that's what it was before.
Yeah, but maybe it didn't. I think it didn't affect the unit before. I'll check.
Yeah. The Oryx Hide Shields from the Somali corrected the armor increase for units with armor stances. Okay, that makes sense. Heavy fortifications, we went over that. Victorian era, House of Hanover. Initial cost reduced by 1,000 food and coin down to 10,000 food and coin. Most expensive tech in the game, let me tell you. Does this make it good? I don't think so.
Oh gosh, no, this still is like a...
You're still waiting 30 minutes.
Yeah. This is one of those things where it's like, oh yes, it exists. Like, you would have to be in a very intense game for a very long time for this ever to get to a point that it matters.
I have a question. Is this card affected by what is it, native lore? To get the 20% cost reduction?
This is a
This is a what?
It's a now you've got me actually thinking.
Yeah, because
Hold on, actually.
the native lore lowers the cost of text by 20%, I believe, is what it does.
It might. I'm pretty sure it does affect it. And the main thing,
But reducing it by 2,000 food and coin to start is a pretty big deal.
and the main thing is that this stack, its cost is reduced by every XP point you've gathered in the game.
Yeah, of course, but it's still super
And-
slow.
And it also sends you a factory wagon, so it does have its uses. It leaves you to it gets you to H5 and it ships you a factory wagon.
But there are a couple things I don't believe native lore is the only tech in the game, is the only thing in the game that reduces the cost of techs. I wonder if it's possible to combine enough of them to make Victorian era usable as like a strategy. That would be an interesting way to find out.
It's possible.
You know what? I'm gonna add it to the list of things to check out. All right. Aztecs founder big button cost doubled for no reason. Nobody was complaining about this, and all this does is take away my ability to do an LOL anti-British build order where I burn down their houses for 243 XP in 5 minutes.
I think this is just the anti-U patch.
The Jaguar Prowler Knight combat promotions reduced from 15-25-45 to 15-20-30 to 10-20-30, which is, I think, fair. Jaguar Prowler Knights, the promotions didn't really help them enough to be viable in the late game, but they were absolutely broken in the early game with the combat promotions, and this will help that out a fair bit. So I think that's justified. It made the big button that you have at the town center that gives you 4 of them in Age 2 just fucking bonkers. So yeah, that's fair. The Oxima Citadel in Age 3 now also adds 1 build limit for synergy with the Maya Pyramids technology, so now you can properly get multiple of the Mayan Citadels, which is awesome.
That's good.
Speaking of Maya, vibe check here. Now Maya Cotton Armor increases hand infantry and fort archer HP by 20%.
20%? They doubled that. Hot damn.
Yeah, 20%.
What's its cost?
Maybe 250 wood and coin.
Okay. I think it was 150 before. So
according to the AoE3 wiki, the Victorian era tech is unaffected by home city cards that reduce the cost of native technologies.
Well, you know what? The wiki has never been accurate, so I'll have to test that myself.
I was literally about to say I don't necessarily believe that, but it needs to be checked.
The British Gentleman of the Pike in Age 4 now sends 17 pikemen, up from 10. I still don't think anybody is going to use this card because nobody is razzled and dazzled over 7 extra pikemen in Age 4.
No. But it at least makes it a more reasonable shipment. Like, you're still not going to send it just because 17 pikes in Age 4. Woo. But,
All right.
Isn't that one of the cards that kind of buffs the pikemen a little bit, though?
It is, but not to the level of musketeers or longbows or rockets.
Yeah. No, it appears, it decreases the cost for you to research their Imperial upgrade by 70% on all fronts.
That is cheap
but
Imperial
that's about
upgrades,
it.
though.
Oh wait, never mind. It also boosts them to guard level. Yeah.
But it's still not worth, though.
Nah, not worth it, especially for
unless
British.
you're doing some funky tech switch with pikes.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna bum rush them with guard level pikes in Age 4. Pull out some wacky FI where you're just gonna make a bunch of pikes to siege down their base. It's not really. I mean, I could see something being cooked up with it, but
all right,
it's not gonna be better.
Dutch, the Blue Guard. This is something that that I've noticed. They really want Dutch to use the Blue Guard. Which is a native musketeer that's available to them, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
It's not native, but
it's
the church tech / card. It's a musket that they can only get by using a shipment. You can train them from.
It's the Age 4. It's the Age 4 advanced church tech, isn't it? The 30 musketeer one. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah.
Copies.
After that-
they now go up to the Imperial, and they're also affected by infantry combat guards. Cool. And then the Red
they get
Lancers in H3
They get a little bit extra.
religious freedom fixed a bug where Red Lancers would lose multipliers when switching sand. Oh, that's weird.
Yeah.
This is actually funny because I believe that instead of Red Lancers, they used to get like Wartleggers or whatever they're called, which were basically just super hussars, which I think were actually better just because of how powerful they were.
It's still the same unit. In their case, it's a renamed Stradiot called a Red Lancer.
Gotcha. It used to be a renamed
And-
Stradiot before, but they changed
Yeah,
what
the thing. This is the second time this unit gets a bug fix.
Okay.
Before, at the point they released, they used to have a positive multiplier against all infantry and another plus against all heavy infantry.
But
So
Stradiots
during the
don't
PvP
have-
days-
but the thing is, Stradiots don't have multipliers. They're just hussars, basically. So, what are these multipliers that they lose occasionally?
It's supposed to be the infantry ones. They are still Stradiots, but since they get every church unit that you get, even though it's a mercenary, gets a little change. Like Portugal has access to the Black
Of
Riders,
course, that makes
and they have
sense.
extra damage, extra melee damage.
Okay,
Yeah, in their case, was a multiplier.
got it. Ethiopians have improved cannon trade from H4 250 influence. Can we research after import cannons to the palace? Splits artillery cost into 40% influence and 60% coin. Now, I was really, really excited for this change because I thought, oh my god, this is finally a way that you can, like, spam Sevastopol mortars. But no, unfortunately, it doesn't actually affect the Sevastopol mortar, which I came to find out, which really sucks. Even though it does affect things like rockets and great bombards, but not the Ethiopian Sevastopol mortar. No, that's too much. They need to cost 1,000 fucking influence a piece. Thank you, game.
To be fair, it does say imported cannons.
Well, it says
sounds-
it can be researched after imported cannons,
Fair point.
which is the tech that enables you to get normal cannons. And it splits it splits artillery cost is how the card reads. It splits artillery cost, not imported cannon artillery, but just artillery costs.
Yeah, it could use some better wording.
Yeah. France, Napoleonic
and-
era. Oh.
Well, one moment. We need to briefly touch back on the Ethiopians. There is apparently a bug with this right now where the tech actually disappears.
Really?
Not that you can't use it they don't get the benefit, but I can't remember. Vindian was doing tests on it, and it either disappears. It was either that you can see it there in 3, but when you hit 4, it disappears, or it disappears if you haven't researched it in 5. I can't remember which of the two.
Got it.
But there's currently a bug where if you don't get it at the right time, you won't be able to get it.
Copy. All right.
Keep that in mind.
French, Napoleonic era, the French Revolution, fixed a bug that resulted in double population costs for Royal Musketeers and Royal Dragoons. That would suck, 4 pop Dragoons. Good lord.
Yeah.
Sanskrit for the French Revolution. I know all the people who actually know how to speak French just cringe at my pronunciation, and
Yep.
I would say I don't care, but I do because I care that you don't like it because I find it funny. Okay, they're now considered gatherers in the UI. Now, I had somebody in the pop video ask a question about what this means and whether they're getting a gathering speed buff. They are not. It is just a clarity thing to make them very clearly gatherers in the UI, so that people don't mistake them for military units. That's what this change is. It's just a UI change.
I do believe in this specific case is for them to start counting on the villager numbers. I think.
Gotcha.
Try it out.
That makes sense. Germans. Advanced Dock no longer sends Dock Wagon for Germans. I didn't know it used to do that, but I guess it doesn't anymore.
Apparently someone spotted this. I don't know anyone who's ever sent that card as Germans. But, okay.
Improved Mercenaries is now reduced to 15%, and that's fair, especially with the Wallenstein's contract changes, which just severely improve that church deck.
Yes.
Wallenstein contracts no longer fully removes the coin cost of military shipments. Instead, it makes them faster and cheaper. So after some testing, we found out that so they halved the cost of Wallenstein's contracts and also halved the effect of its the reduction of shipments. Instead of being a 100% discount, it's now a 50% discount at half the coin, which is wonderful because it means you're still using the same amount of coin, but you have a much lower buy-in price, basically. If you send 3 mercenary shipments, you break even, essentially, with this, and that's when you really start saving money. But now it's a much lower buy-in, so you can just get 1,500 coin, research this, and then start immediately shipping units. You don't have to wait until you have all 3,000, which just makes the strategy a lot smoother. In addition, it also lowers the train time and cost of mercenaries by 15%, and these are for trained mercenaries, which also means that Wallenstein's contracts no longer is only useful for a very short period of time until you run out of mercenary shipments. It's now a change that will affect your entire playthrough, assuming you are using a mercenary version of a mercenary-based Germany strategy, which is really cool. I like these changes.
Yeah, I'm my inner teenager who desperately... showing my age here. I remember back in 2006
back in my
when
day.
this was added. I remember back all the way back.
In the olden times.
Ye olden times. And my teenage self was, first time this popped up, it's like, oh, sick. I can build up these 3,000 coin, and I can just train mercs for free. And it was like, no. I was like, well, this is bullshit. And so my inner me from fucking 17 years ago at this point is very happy to see this change. But the more cynical adult version of myself is a little disappointed because it doesn't like, and obviously this is, at this point, nothing's been fleshed out. This is all just, how it feels. And it's like the 15% discount and 10% reduction in train speed is, it's there. It would be impactful in the long game, but I don't know that it doesn't enable anything interesting from a strategy. It definitely improves its utility for Wallenstein's contacts, but it's not. It doesn't introduce anything new. It's just
an update to something that's old and outdated.
Yeah.
Which is fine, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, that's fine.
Prince Elect.
One change I really like here is the Prince Electors.
Yeah, we skipped over it in order to talk about improved mercenaries and Wallenstein's contracts together. But Prince Electors doubled the build limits for most native allied units. Prince Electors was a card that I think was rarely sent for Germany. It was occasionally sent, and it definitely has value. But it didn't. But no matter what you did, it wouldn't contribute a large portion to your military. But now it will, which is a big deal. So yay, Prince Electors.
It can mean you can field like 30 musketeers at this point now. Mm-hmm. Like that's you. It's still going to be a risky bet for Germany to send this because it's an H1 shipment, and
it doesn't give you anything. It's a start.
Yeah, it doesn't give you anything. So like that's the big thing that people.
Yeah, just a little patch weirdness to confirm again. You know how it talks about the Sunscolot now counting on the UI?
Yeah.
Yeah, so for some reason they don't directly count as villagers on the UI, but they do count as idle villagers when they're not doing anything.
So they don't contribute to your settler count, but they do count but they will trigger your idle settler flag. Oh my god. Everybody who's OCD, avoid French Revolution.
Even worse so, they don't trigger the flag, but if you do press your idle villager bound key, it will lead to them, just like it would when you have a wagon sitting around.
That's so weird. Okay, if you have OCD, don't play French Revolution. You will die.
That means that they can do it.
And as a confirmation of the bug about the population, Napoleonic France has a tech that allows you to train Carabinier units, which is an improved version of the royal units you have when you send the card that lets you. I forgot the name of the card, but it's that age 1 French card that allows you to train royal musketeers and all.
Okay.
In the past, what used to happen after you got Napoleonic France is that you got access to these 2 special units alongside the royal ones, and the existence of them both would somehow double the population cost of the unit itself. But nowadays it just replaces them. So your Royal Musketeers get replaced by Foot Carabineers, and the Royal Dragoons you used to have are now completely replaced by the Horse Carabineers, which is a 2 special Napoleonic. It's 2 special units that are in the revolt inside the revolt. It's gonna be a little tough seeing them around, but they're cool.
Okay. Alright, and Zweihander has a change that's barely worth mentioning. Okay, Haudenosaunee, Forest Prowler, has an almost imperceptible HP nerf, but at least now their UI will actually be easy to read because you won't have to add decimals to as many things. And the much more impactful change... The much more impactful change is that their range damage base got reduced from 20 to 19, which is a big deal because it means because they have age 3 scaling stats, unlike normal skirmishers, which means that in addition, it's always important to note with units that have base stats in age 3 is that their stats are designed to be useful in age 3, but because every other unit upgrades from age 2, when they receive upgrades, they are from those age 2 bases and they are small upgrades. But units that start in age 4, that start in age 3 with age 3 bases get way more out of upgrades and cards and combat stuff than other units do because they have higher base stats that they are getting improved upon. And the Forest Prowler was one of these rare exceptions where, in addition to having age 3 bases, which skirmishers do not have, they also had higher stats than skirmishers in age 3. Which really meant that they just took off and became one of the most powerhouse skirmishers in the game once you got to ages 4 and 5, in addition to already being very good in age 3. And so even though this 1 damage reduction doesn't seem like a lot, it will add up to a noticeably smaller amount of attack in the very late game. So this actually does matter. The HP one, not so much. Nobody gives a shit about 2.5 HP, but the attack one is significant.
I do believe this change is a little... It is significant, but in the late game, not so much, especially the damage, as the recent patch. Conservative tactics for Haudenosaunee started being able to affect them, which is a 10% buff to HP and attack, is a recent change.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe by the late game, they're gonna be about the same that they were before the attack was available to them.
Okay, well that's perfect then.
Yeah, that's perfect.
How's Fulani
They're still
Archer?
very good.
Movement speed reduced, haha. And fixed an issue where the line of sight was less than their long range attacks range. That's kind of funny. Fuck Fulani Archers. I just have to say this. I hate the fact that they can kite my Gatling guns. It's stupid and it shouldn't be a thing. And now it's not. Thank you.
Thank you. So much.
Literally, one time I made a mass of like 20 Gatling guns, and Platt actually kited all 20 of my Gatling guns down and lost like 10 Fulani Archers in the process. It was dumb. Okay, we improved cannon tray, we already talked about. Raider increases the cost by 5 coin. Cool. Sarkin Dogarai fixed a visual glitch for the Maigata unit. Okay, sure. Sokoto, Jesus, these names. Crondile, converted kingdom builders now correctly provide 200 influence. What is this referring to? Does anybody know? I don't really play Hausa.
I haven't the slightest idea.
It sounds like it's an ability that allows you to trade the Hausa Kingdom builders for influence, and now it changes either for better or worse the amount of influence these should provide. But I'm not really sure. Songhai
give me a
Alliance now delivers 200 coin down from 300. That's one of the age ups, so that's actually a significant change. That's like that's at least 2 less javelin riders in your first match. So that's a big deal, actually.
Okay, so Sokoto Chronicle, you receive a Kingdom Builder for every town center you currently own. Kingdom Builders can transform into tokens of influence.
Okay, got it. So that's been adjusted, basically. The house's Songhai Age 2 Age Up will now provide 100 less coin, which is going to equate to 2 less Javelin Riders in the first batch, which is significant. Songhai Raid ability, Raider spawn now takes 10 seconds up from 5. Very cool.
Yeah.
Inca! The Chasqui automatic damage improvements from age 3 onwards are now set to plus 8 damage per age, down from plus 10, plus 15, plus 15. That's a big nerf. Holy shit.
Completely deserved as well. They were a little
yeah. It's very true. I think Gideon is the one who showed me the fact that Chasqui could get something stupid like 45 attack.
Yeah.
And then that's not even considering the fact that they don't cost population and that they have a really, really good combat card in age 1.
And really, really low cost.
Yeah, and really low cost. They were dumb. Their melee damage has been reduced by 1 as well. Haraka's damage multiplier against artillery reduced from 2.5 to 2, gets increased to 2.5 again upon researching champion Harakas.
By the way,
okay, so they're just weaker in age 3.
Yeah.
The damage reduction is affecting the Chima runners, and that's the one change that's gonna make me quit the game. Bye-bye. Never again. They killed my units. It's so sad.
Okay, they're still like the best fucking shock unit in the game. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, it's true. It pretty much made no difference at all.
Yeah, it will, because it will, but like
it will have an effect.
It's not a big one.
Yeah.
No, it's really not.
Priestess, successful conversions now play a sound. Modders, this is your opportunity here to add a goofy sound effect to replace this, whatever they turn it into. Okay? I really want a mod that I can install where whenever I play Inca and I successfully convert somebody's unit, I hear a little yay in the background. Please, for me, please. You can even use that recording. I beg of you. Okay.
We've got to get that shoot, that meme where it's like the kids in the rap battle going, oh, it needs to be that sound.
Alright, Quipu Kamiyukes. This is, I believe, the advanced Chasqui card. Speed improvement reduced to 5%, down from 10. Haha, fuck you. Okay. Indians home city shipment XP penalty reduced from 10% to 9%. Thank you so much. It's still not 8%, which is where it used to sat before. But you really felt 10%, and India already had like one of the slowest XP generations without cattle. So, like, thank God, I'm so happy with that. Because they just got shipments so fucking slowly. It's nuts. All right, Italians. Architects now take 34 seconds to train, up from 25. Speed reduced to 4 from 4.5. And haha, here it is. Here's the fuck you change. Fixed an issue that allowed architects to construct forts when a fort card has been sent. Lets architects construct military buildings only 45% faster. Before only walls. Okay, now.
Good riddance.
This change, thank God, because when people found out that the architects could make forts in 15 seconds, my goodness, they used that. I encountered it twice.
Fort creep.
I encountered it twice during my time. The first one, I was doing an overwhelming rush with high siege units, so it didn't really matter. We just burned them down faster than they were building them, and that was that. But the second one was definitely a huge case of fort creep, where they would take a little bit of territory and then reinforce it with the fort. And then take a little bit of territory and then burn down the fort in the back and reinforce it with the fort. And it was just annoying.
Stupid stupid bug.
Schiavone?
But and I'm also really glad to see the speed reduce on the architect. These bastards were way too fast. Like they would outrun your villagers, raiding you could never get them. So that half point of movement speed is actually pretty important. It's going to make them way easier to pick off a raid now.
I'm looking forward to it. The Schiavone now has only 18 range in Age 2, but automatically increases to 20 in Age 3. So there you go. The Schiavone joined the ranks of units that have lowered stats in Age 2, just like with the Petard and the Revolutionary.
Gurkha.
Gurkha have Age 2 bases. They're not lowered stats in Age 2.
Yeah.
Japanese.
It was that was a pretty unnecessary nerf, to be honest. Schiavone were not really used too much. Not enough, at least.
I love the fact that they created an anti-skirmisher unit that is outranged by actual H2 skirmishers. Great job. Great job. I honestly don't approve of this change. Like, the Schiavone's objective is to, like, counter other skirmishers. If you really want it to be nerfed and further specialized in only counter skirmisher play, lower the damage and increase its multiplier. That's all you gotta do. It's all it is. Yep. Okay. But Khufu, I believe this is the train speed card that also buffs Daimyos?
Yes.
Daimyo speed increase reduced to 5%, down from 10, and line of sight reduced to 10 from 20. Good lord. Daimyo's better than spies, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. I don't know how meta this card was for Japanese players, so I can't really comment how much of an impact it's going to have, but
in non-treaty games, it was never used, but I do believe it dominated treaty since you could see the whole map without spies. Good guide.
Yeah, it's a treaty must card.
Yeah. And then 8 Samurai in Age 4, they just fixed a small bug with it. Alright, Lakota, 7 Council Fires, cost reduced, and they change it so it only ships 2 units in variety instead of 3, which I see this as a huge win for Council Fires. That's a big buff for it. Less unit variety and more unit and more unit like synergy in the composition, plus a cost reduction. Like, what's not to love?
100%.
Buff.
I mean, you don't send that card for the units.
Yeah, you don't. But now the units that you do get with it are better than they were before.
Yeah.
Not to say that the Seton Bowman is bad, but the fact that you would only get 2 and 3 of 3 different units is a lot worse than 4 and 3 of 2 different units. Because they will contribute to masses easier and better now. Maltese Winter Corps Constructions fixed range display on the aura for several buildings, and that's the only change. That's the quote-unquote only change Malta has gotten. We will mention this later, but Malta, a little bit later when we talk about the Ottomans, but Malta, and also it's France to a degree, but especially Malta, is completely unplayable in this current patch until a hotfix comes out. Which they will need to, because the unintended change that got added to Malta and France make France severely nerfed and Malta unplayable in the current patch. Which is hilarious. We'll go over that when we talk about the Ottomans, though, because it is related to them. Mexicans, Advanced Frontier Defenses from Central America, costs reduced to 150 wood from 200. This is the one that is free for everybody else, but costs wood only in Central America Revolt from Mexico. It gives you 3 outposts and researches the veteran upgrade for outposts. Which, I mean, sure, fine, whatever. Chinako, bonus damage from heavy cavalry reduced to 1.2 from 1.25. I still don't know why they have it. They are still the best cavalry in the game for as long as they have that bonus. Because they are just
I don't get why they have a multiplier at all.
They're just knocking out our riders, but they also win against hussars. Like, what the fuck? They are the best cav in the game. Yeah.
with one, they'd still be really good.
Yeah, exactly. Outlaw combat with the filibusters, cost reduced, sure. Plan of a Yolta in Age 4. This is one. The plan cards are all the cards that change units into other units, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct.
Fix an issue that prevented the card from enabling revolutionaries. Oh my god, was this a settler to revolutionary conversion card? For Mexico? Like, what's the point? You already have a bunch of other abilities that don't cost shipments.
I believe it was their Insurgentes.
Oh, yeah, that's totally right. That's exactly what it was. Okay.
So, but apparently it prevented you from making
revolutionaries. Gotcha. Okay.
Really defeats the purpose.
Yeah. Plan of Miramad. Now also improves the range of the Bandito's dynamite attack. Sure, whatever. Plan of Tuxtepec. I'm butchering these pronunciations. Cost halved. That's a big deal.
Oh my god. Why?
Is this the one that transforms
Salteadores into soldados, yes.
Yeah, that's the one I was thinking. Good lord. I mean, to be fair, 2,000 resources was way too much for that, but like, it's still expensive. In all fairness.
In all fairness,
yeah, it's still 1,000 res.
It effectively doubles.
Oh yeah,
the power of your units. Yeah, it doubles in the population count, so we kind of count that as a doubling in overall effectiveness. It is insane now.
Salvadoran coffee at Central America now caps at 10 settlers. This is the one that gives you a settler for every shipment you sent so far in the game. Which I don't really get, because if you've gone far enough in the game that you've sent 18 settlers, then you should get that you sent 18 shipments, then by all means, at that point in the game, 18 settlers is not a big deal, because you probably had 99 and you just lost half your settlers, you know?
Yeah, I remember from discussions that no one seemed particularly perturbed by this one.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, with Central America, it's supposed to be a settler and artillery focused, semi-age 3. If you're sitting in this long enough for you to have sent 10 shipments, your opponent's probably out of age 3 by then.
Yeah.
So I don't think there's a ton of real value here, but if anyone in the comments has a justification why this came into effect, I'm definitely interested in hearing.
The third guarantee in Age 2 plan of Iguala now reduces Hacienda points by 35% down from 50. I believe this is the tech that made it so that Haciendas were free, but were weaker and also took longer to build. Is that accurate?
No, it's inaccurate. Unfortunately, it's the one that nobody uses. I believe it allows you to sell your Haciendas and reduces their HP.
Ah.
So you can, yeah.
Gotcha. Well, evidently it needed nerfs.
so true.
Oh yeah, that's what I meant.
Reduces hit points by -35 instead of -50.
Yeah, of course.
No, that's insane. You need to nerf it more.
All right, Ottomans. All right, let's get into it. Here we go. Obus Gunner.
Let us all take this blessed moment to appreciate a patch where there were no Ottoman buffs.
All right, Obus Gunner. Cost raised by 5 coin for the Obus Gunner. This frustrates me because the Obus Gun is a ridiculously powerful unit, and they have been repeatedly nerfed patch after patch after patch in small ways. And small changes do add up, right? Except that this game patches really slowly, so there's a limit to how much that can actually affect anything. But the problem is that the Obus gun continues to be one of the best units because the devs are willing to patch and change and nerf everything about the Obus gunner except the thing that makes them ridiculously powerful, which is their high base damage.
The high
Well,
base damage
the-
being siege damage as well.
Yes.
Yeah,
They-
there are two things. It's the siege damage and it's the instant frame rate.
Exactly.
The instant fire.
And I remember at the last patch, they got a reduction to their light cavalry multiplier. And everybody was like, oh, they're balanced now. They're balanced now. And I was thinking, what are you talking about? Nobody was thinking that Obus guns were OP because of their anti-light cavalry multiplier. That's not the reason Obus guns were OP. And so here we go with just a 5-coin reduction, which, I mean, yeah, there might be 1 or 2 less Obus guns in the early game, but, you know, a mass of 90 Obus guns or 60 Obus guns is still going to one-shot everything in the game regardless of tags. So, I mean, really, you know, once it gets to the mid to late game where, you know, Obus guns start to just be spammed, we're going to have the same issue. And that's all there is to it.
I'm sorry to say, if you slip, you'll still get your falconets sniped by Abus.
No kidding. The 5-coin will throw off build orders in the early game, so, you know, that's nice.
There will be one
It
less
does mean
Obus gun
that
pushing my TC at
less
5
out,
minutes.
you're gonna miss batches.
Whoop de fucking do.
But yeah, exactly. I'm happy to see a nerf, but you guys, it's a guy walking around with a giant cannon in his arms. He should not be able to go YOLO shoot instantaneously. Like, just give them a frame delay so they can't snipe. Come on. They should not be able to juke. Stop. Come on.
That is an amazing hot take, though.
All right.
Yeah.
The Zap increase costs by 5 wood and train time to 29 seconds. 5 wood for an Zap is a lot more significant of a change than 5 coin for an Obus gunner. Because the costs are low to begin with, so it's a much greater percentage of total cost increase. And the Zap needed a nerf, let's be real. I say let's be real. The Zap has been OP for over a year, and next to nobody has realized it. It has just stealthily been one of the best units. We put it in S tier during my last. We put it in S tier during my last heavy infantry tier list, at the very top of S tier, as a matter of fact. Stupid unit, I will say.
Yes.
Just you wait until they find out about the Humbarachi as well.
Cost increase to the Humbarachi by 5 coin. So they got a cost increase to 3 different units of 5 coin or 5 wood, which is an overall nerf to the Ottoman economy, which is nice to see. I don't really feel like the Obus gunner is really going to be changed by this, though, personally. Especially because it's such a small percentage of their total cost compared to the other units. I guess the Humbarachi is even less affected in that regard. Okay, the York town center construction rate slowed down to 50% from 15%. Cool, sure, whatever.
This is good. It hits the bottom where it really needs to be hit, which is that ability to just get up your other TCs really fast. I mean,
it's now better to kill the exploder.
No.
Yeah, unfortunately, I have to disagree with that. It's only gonna really affect your game if you're able to snipe the Ottoman Explorer, but if he's a true bottle player, he's probably gonna be keeping his Explorer in base.
Oh, yeah.
It's not really gonna make a good difference.
No, it'll slow him down by getting that third TC up by maybe 30 seconds. So it's it's still not
It's something. It's something at least.
something.
Okay, now that we've reached the bottom of the Ottoman changes, let's talk about Malta and France briefly. Now, I will have a video showcasing us discovering this tomorrow with some hilarious footage. But there was a change to the Ottomans code that inadvertently nerfed Malta and France, but particularly Malta, into a state of unplayability. And you would never guess it because it's not really showcased on any of these patch notes, and we only know that it's tied to the Ottomans because Mr. Code Cracker Dunamai did some investigating on what was causing the change, and apparently it leads back to the Ottomans. But
No, it was the Portuguese. It was the Portuguese.
was it the Portuguese?
Yeah, it was the change to them being able to be trainable as ordinanzas, the ordinanza riflemen. That was the.
Okay, never
What
mind.
was causing
Okay,
it?
I thought I could have sworn he said the Ottomans, but okay, we'll go to Portuguese. Specific. This card is this the card that did it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. There's something weird about the coding in this particular new card here, that affects Portuguese and sorry, that affects Malta and France, and in particular, what it does is it completely removes the 8 crossbow and infinite 10 crossbow shipments in ages 2 and 3. Now, it doesn't remove them from the decks. It just removes them shipping things. So you can put the shipment in your deck, it can take up space in your deck, and it will still look right. And you can click it and send the shipment, but nothing will be delivered to your town center when you send these shipments. Now, the infinite 10 crossbows is not a big deal, but the 8 crossbows in Age 2 is a very big deal. And it's because this kills. It doesn't necessarily kill, but it severely nerfs France's crossbow rush, but it kills Malta, as 8 crossbows is one of the most important defensive shipments that Malta has in the early game, and it is a big contributor to their Age 2 military power. And as it is, in fact, probably the main contributor to Malta's Age 2 power in terms of individual shipments. And the removal of this is astronomical. It basically neuters their ability to fight in Age 2 unless you are going for a Sentinel build, which are significantly more challenging to start in from Age 2. It's generally easier to train to switch into Sentinels as you move into Age 3 than it is to start with them at the beginning, because they have high population costs. I still think they are very, very good units, but they're basically an H3 Musk, is how you should treat them. And this is a severe nerf. Point blank and period. But yeah, let's talk about the rest of Portuguese changes.
It's not just a nerf, just a massive game-breaking bug.
Yeah, well, I mean, it breaks their ability to play the game. I call that a nerf. It's an unintended nerf for sure, but
I don't know. I'd say I'd still just consider it a bug, though. It's a temporary nerf, maybe.
I mean, it's a bug that nerfs, just like these are all changes that nerf.
Okay, we're getting into semantics.
Yeah, the semantics are fun. How dare you? Okay, Grape Shot in Age 4 fixed an issue that prevented some organ guns from moving after shipping this card. Weird, never heard of that, but I guess it's fixed. And now the Perpetrator itself no longer improves hit points of crossbows and pikemen. Pikemen now gain extra hit points and damage from their guard upgrade instead. Crossbowmen no longer benefit from Valor promotions, but instead have their costs reduced and are given rifles. Cost increased to 2,000 food from 1,000 food and moved to Age 4, icon updated. So that's cool.
So it turns their Portuguese crossbows into landwear.
Yeah. There you go.
I don't know at this point how they compare, but like from a thematic perspective, I generally think it's a good thing. Like, from a theme perspective, from a game's like portrayal, and like the reality is you're getting to this late game, you're Imperial or Industrial or whatever. Yeah, you don't have guys walking around with crossbows. You've upgraded them. So, like from a theme perspective, I like. And I don't know what it's going to do gameplay wise, aside from corrupt Malta, apparently. In general, like I think every civ that does have crossbows should have something like this that they can send, and it's like, oh yeah, we just had all these useless crossbows lying around.
Okay.
Now
And cost, the Order Bestiaros no longer reduces crossbowmen costs. Also, they just didn't mention the fact that they renamed it to Order Bestiaros from Ordnance Bestiaros, which, thank you, because it was weird that they were called Ordnance Bestiaros despite the fact that they have crossbows and therefore zero form of ordnance, which are generally seen as explosives. So, thank you for that. Organ guns have their target lock removed, and this is to compensate for the fact that I guess organ guns operate kind of like siege elephants and leather cannons now, where they don't stance shit. They don't have to limber and unlimber. They just walk around. Except they have like way more speed than leather cannons, which means that organ guns are basically able to kite infantry now, which is really, really funny. And I guess the target lock was removed as a method of compensating that.
Yeah, I like where organ guns are at with this now, where it's like they're
weird
now
unit.
distinct.
They're really good.
It's a weird unit.
Yeah,
it's a weird unit, but it's now distinct from
The
Gatlings.
gun.
They are now different units.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Which is good.
Going back a little bit, the Order Besteros change saying that it doesn't reduce the crossbowman cost. I mean, it does reduce the cost of the Ordnance Riflemen now.
Wait, really?
It reduces the cost of the riflemen, so it goes like 40-40.
So if you send this tech Carter in Age 4, and then get the Ordnance Bestiaros, it lowers their cost, but not if you don't send this.
No, I mean,
that's so funny.
The only way it could get access to them was through this card, anyways. But okay, so I guess what this is hinting at is that the upgrade to H4 Crossbowmen, the guard upgrade, it does reduce their cost by itself, but now it doesn't. It used to reduce the cost of them by itself, but I think maybe it used to stack with the Treaty of Tordesillas card.
Okay.
So now I guess it doesn't anymore. So if you do get the church stack, it's still gonna reduce their cost, but it's not gonna stack anymore because it doesn't reduce the cost by default when you get the guard upgrade.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the change.
Okay.
All right, moving on. Russia fixed the grunt voices of the recruit and porter chick. That's right, guys. We have high quality grunting now. These are the balance changes we needed.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, those are the low quality ones. We need the high quality ones. Like, oh no, I've been killed.
My liver.
They got 6 porter chicks, 17 Hussars is an insane card, just saying. Especially to a civilization that doesn't normally get Hussars. This is like a game ender, basically.
Yeah.
This is a I've been spending the entire game making Strelets, and you think you have me with your cannons, and now I will slaughter your entire artillery division in one fell swoop and kill all your settlers. Like, this is?
It's the comeback for Bashkir ponies, the church card they used to have. It used to be Hussars. Now it's gonna be a card by itself.
And these are gonna be guard Hussars too.
Yeah.
In fact, who knows? Like, the fast Russian Hussars might end up being a strategy that Russia does now. That's insane. And in fact, I think I'm going to add that to my notes.
It's pretty nasty, so I don't think it's going to be OP, but man, that can hurt if it's used right.
Mm-hmm. Landed Gentry, moved to H1, don't know what that did, don't care. Porchik, increased hit points, increased damage, and upgrades now scale from about 20% lower base values. Oh, right, because they're based in H3, just like all of Russia's units. It's such a weird thing, by the way. Russia's stats are based in H3. It's really odd, but you would never guess it. But yeah, this is actually very helpful because the Porchik had an identity crisis where people realized, wait, this is just infinitely worse than the Musketeer in every important stat that matters. And now this will help it out a little bit. I'm curious to see if people start training these guys now.
Nope.
No. Thanks for the answer to that. All right, moving on. Sarkanon fixed a bug that allowed sending the card again in the Imperial Age, added a cost of 200 coin. Okay, why
is that a bug? Because it's a unit shipment. It sends one. It enables the Imperial upgrade, and it ships one Great Bombard.
It's probably because it's a double use card. You can send it twice by default.
That makes sense. Okay. Marvelous Year Nerf. Maybe it won't be in every Spanish deck, but I doubt that. All right.
Oh, it's still an amazing card. Are you kidding?
Walloon Guards cost reduced to 2,000 coin from 3,000. That's a big buff. Moving on. Unfortunately, nobody ever sent the Advanced Church card for Spain for Walloon Guards. It's always the Halberdiers. All right. United States.
Yeah, that one needs to stay pricey.
Carbine Cavalry rate of fire slowed and damage increased, so they're putting it in line with the other Dragoons. Which, to be fair, yeah, the Carbine Cavalry was a little overtuned this batch. Morris Canal future shipments arrive in 10 seconds, up from 5. I have never really been a New Jersey fan. However, I do recognize that the Morris Canal card was pretty essential in certain Fast Imperial strategies. So congratulations! Now your Fast Imperial will be 10 seconds slower after sending 2 shipments with Morris Canal. These are the important nerfs. All right. Boston Tea Party. I actually talked about this a little bit in the pub, but this is a change I vehemently disagree with. The coin conversion rate down to 15% from 25%. So Boston Tea Party is a federal card, first of all, that you have to age up with Massachusetts, which is a big opportunity cost to send. Now, the thing about Boston Tea Party is that it's supposed to be an early game resource conversion card as opposed to a late game one. And the reason is because it changes your food to coin, sure. But it also, and then it adds 25%, or at least it did. But it also adds, I think, either 250 or 300, I think it's 350 flat coin to your stockpile on top of the conversion, which doesn't really matter in the late game when you're converting 40,000 food in a treaty match or some shit. But it matters a lot when you're trading 1,000 food for coin. And that 1,000 food, instead of turning into 1,250 coin, turns into almost 2,000 coin. And you can use this to afford really, really expensive coin costing units, like early sharpshooters, for example, or lots, or just like 4 straight full batches of gunslingers. And that was a really, really cool thing that Boston Tea Party could do that the other things couldn't. Is it was more useful for direct rushes than something that was intended for extended lengths of battle, such as Pennsylvania, which gives you the coin trickle, which was generally with the first pick anyways. So Boston Tea Party coin conversion rate down to 15% does further emphasize the fact that the real benefit from this card is the 350 flat coin. However, it doesn't buff that at all. The card is just worse now. And as a matter of fact, this turns it into the worst conversion rate in the conversion card in the game, practically, because it's a one-time send rather than an infinite like some of the others are. It's only 15%. It adds 350 coin that is not useful in anything except 5 minutes into the game. And on top of that, it requires that you age up with Massachusetts and lose out on the insane bonuses of Virginia and Pennsylvania. So Boston Tea Party is now a huge detriment, and there is no reason to ever go to Massachusetts. So I feel like if they were going to lower the conversion, they should have also raised the flat coin bonus to 500 or so. And I don't like this change. I really don't. Nobody was ever using Boston Tea Party except to do really niche fast fortresses. And now nobody will do that even. So that's my thoughts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't typically play with Massachusetts much anyways, as I'm not one for that sort of strategy. My main use when I ever went for them was to try to do some funny kind of age 3 boom using their settler card, because it's kind of useless to do an age 2. It's like whoop-de-dingle-do. I get 3
extra
settlers.
Yeah.
But, you save it for age 3, get your 2 TCs out, and it's a 9 villager card.
Congratulations, you just spent 1,000 wood and got 1 extra settler compared to the 8 settler shipment that other civilizations have.
Yeah, it was... Not saying it's not saying it was a good strategy. It was something I was trying.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, it kind of joins Delaware now, and what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know perfectly well that some people have gotten Delaware to work with German immigrants to do an early boom.
Which they are wrong, because it actually works better with Pennsylvania. It's doable with Delaware, but it's not ideal with Delaware.
It's doable, but I think Massachusetts at this point joins Delaware in the pile of just like, what's the point of this?
Just don't use them. They are in the pile of useless HFs.
Virginia, you get a free shipment. You compare it to Pennsylvania, which enables 5 Coeur Bois, the coin trickle, or Rhode Island, which I still believe is, I know we disagree on this, but I believe it's seriously underappreciated for that kick-ass villager cost decrease card.
Oh, I like Rhode Island, just not for that one. I like Rhode Island for the trade post card.
Yeah, it's something that we've disagreed on for a while.
Yeah.
I still think a lot of that. I think a lot of that card. So, but all 3 of those have a distinct identity, a distinct use, like a real economic power spike that you can get from them. Whereas those 2 are now just kind of like they're options that exist.
Mm-hmm.
They are certainly one of the options of all time.
Do you have anything to add to your Bison, or do you think we pretty much covered it?
Yeah, I have literally 0 experience with the playing USA, so
okay, you don't play USA.
Kind of hard to say anything.
All right.
I do notice that at least with the great amount of changes, the Civ is finally out of the top S tier. So
yeah,
I'm glad for that.
Now, Boston Tea Party was an unwarranted nerf. Now let's talk about the warranted nerfs that come after it.
Yeah.
There are many.
Oh, okay. Advanced homesteading, big nerf. That was fair. That card was nuts. It's been nuts for a long time. It's just funny because people didn't notice it until German immigrants got buffed. Kinetic shipwrights no longer. It reduces heavy cannons bonus by a lot. So, I'm just gonna skip past Hamiltonian for now. Indiana mobilization no longer reduces train time of heavy cannons. Knox artillery train nerfs the heavy cannon train time production. This is so funny. This is all a big thing that I've been talking about for the past maybe year with USA. And again, this is something that people only caught on to recently because USA went to the top of the of the board for a while, but it's been something I've been talking about for about a year, and that's that they can get like 17-second heavy cannon production in the 5th Age, which is really, really funny. You can basically have your entire army be heavy cannons and have to kill off your heavy cannons in order to make pop room for anti-cav. It's really stupid and funny. But that is no longer a thing now, because they have been severely nerfed. It involved sending Knox Artillery Train, sending Indiana Mobilization, aging to 5 with Connecticut, and then sending the Connecticut Shipwrights card, and that's how you did it. And then you also need both your factories and the tech at the factory. But stupid ability, and yeah, it's been nerfed. Okay, Kentucky, and sticking with the nurse for now. Kentucky Hunters has a added cost of 500 coin. I personally disagree with this. I think they should just take out the 5 the 5 Alhoots and make it buff Alhoots again instead. Because I like the Alhoot range, and yes, it's a lot of units you get out of Kentucky Hunters, but I mean, come on. That was one of the core cards to Alhoots. But whatever. Kentucky Coalfields added a cost of 200 wood. Why? None of the other coal mine cards have wood costs associated with them. Why are you doing it to the federal one? And Germany.
Yeah, I don't get that change. The Hunters change I get because it is a lot. It can get to be a lot of units.
I mean,
but the Coalfields is a little funky.
I guess Oklahoma Black Mesa also had a wood cost and gave a coal mine, but I mean, you were paying for not the coal mine, but the ability to, but for the extra gunslingers that came with it, and the ability to mine from the coal mine. So that was justified, you know.
Yeah.
But I mean, the Kentucky Coalfields is almost the exact same price as Black Mesa, and just offers a lot less now, a lot less than that card does. So
yeah. So what I'm saying here is that my personal fan favorite of Tennessee for Age 3, the stock continues to rise.
Yes. I actually mentioned that in the pup. I'm like, yes, this if nothing else, this will encourage more people to give Tennessee a shot, because I love Tennessee with USA, and nobody else does it, and it's sad. So maybe that will change that a little bit. Especially because they might want the extra population now that advanced homesteading, which is funny because they both have to do with state militia too. So you can go with like the land grab advanced homesteading build, and then also work the Tennessee outposts into it. Why not? You know?
Okay, no.
Okay. And that's oh yeah, and then Hamiltonian economics improves market buy rates by 5%. It never said that it did that in the card, but I guess it was supposed to, and it never did, and now they fixed it. Sure, cool, whatever, it's an extra bonus.
Well, we have to talk about German immigrants.
I mean,
we bypassed talking about the last bullet for USA.
Oh yeah, they cost more than the French immigrants now, which is fair. Let's move on.
Which is more.
Yeah, German immigrants. I still think people are overblowing the power of German immigrants, and that's from somebody who thinks it's a very good card. But people think it's like the second coming of Christ, and it's not. Yes, you do need advanced homesteading at the bare minimum. People think you need the Delaware card too. You don't. You just need advanced homesteading, and then you train the other two. But German immigrants was powerful when you made a build out of it, and it specifically required a build that had an opportunity cost of not letting you fast fortress. So for an Age 2 economy option, it was the best option, and it still is the best option for Age 2 economy USA. However, French immigrants is definitely still the go-to for fast fortress play. And pretty much most other strategies, as a matter of fact. And that has now been further incentivized with the raised costs, so yay.
Yeah, like I think you were still intending to play Age 2 with USA. Mm-hmm. German immigrants is the way to go. But if your intent is not to live there, I completely agree that French immigrants is just better. Like,
Not to mention, French Immigrants
my
raises
perspective-
your settlers' attack, their HP, their movement speed. It's such an important card. Like,
such a good card, and like for people who are more like me, I guess, who are more on like the scrub level, the 1200 elo range, like it increases the survivability of your settlers, man.
it also synergizes with the Tennessee with the Tennessee state a lot better.
Why do you think I like Tennessee so much?
Yeah, exactly. All right, well, let's move on. Revolutions, Outlaw Combat. Yeah, we're not going to talk too much about the revolutions because most of these changes will not affect 90% of people. However, we should point out one thing in particular, and that is, where is it? Peru added several Inca cards. If I'm not mistaken, Peru basically is better at Inca than Inca is, because you get all of the Spain mechanics to go with Inca, so you get shit like Unction that affects Incan units like Chimu runners, which is very, very funny. So
I mean, if you wanna,
we'll be making a video on this like separately, but I just want to point out, like, Peru got the USA treatment.
if you like to go through every revolt by name, I can say if the changes make it any better or not.
Are you familiar with all of them?
Yep.
Okay, let's do it. Outlaw Combat. Wait, I guess that doesn't really matter. Okay.
Nearly nothing.
Argentina. Oh yeah, I want to make one for Argentina as well.
A little better, just slightly. You get one card that matters.
Gotcha.
For the whole thing.
Barbary States.
Didn't change at all,
Copy.
pretty much.
Brazil.
Change very much if you're planning to play the late game. Now they have access to the capital.
Oh, very cool.
Capital, and a massive thing, you get access to the diamond mine that used to only be available for South Africa, which is a one mine that has 100k coin inside of it.
Did you just say 100k coin?
Yes.
Yep.
Does it have reduced? Does it have reduced gathering like salt mines do?
No.
Jesus Christ! Holy shit! All right. I mean, the thing is, you have no settlers when you revolt, so.
Yeah.
Canada.
Didn't really change at all.
I actually want to play around with Canada. I think that'd be fun.
I mean,
You get a flying
grizzly bears
laser bear.
took a population.
And you got a flying
so-
laser bear, so that's cool. All right, Egypt.
Also didn't change much. It's usually a last resort kind of revolt. Not gonna be sending that card.
Finland. Only nerfs, basically.
Yeah, it's sad. I don't know why they're nerfing Finland.
Haiti.
Good, very good.
Cool.
Extremely fucking good. Yoruba rider population cost decrease. Oh my god, it's insane.
I've
Well,
already been
check
over
out that
Peru.
rate of fire change for the Buccaneer, 2.5 to 3.
Ooh.
That
Yeah.
hurts, but those ASO riders are gonna be nasty.
You betcha. Romania.
Didn't change at all, still sucks.
Cool. South Africa. Oh, wait, this one
Uh,
actually is relevant. I want to talk about this one in detail
Yeah.
a little bit. And same with the United States as well. They lost their fort. That doesn't matter. Nobody cared about that. The Radosel at South Africa. I don't know what this one did, but they added a
So
cost
the Rodzal adds the capital. It allows them to get
Right,
a capital
okay.
and attack.
Copy. But here's the big one that I want to talk about. The Trek Wagon hit points reduced from 450 to 350. I don't know for sure, but this is likely also in response to one of my videos. In particular, the one where we put a bunch of Jaguar Prowlers in Trek Wagons, because Trek Wagons had an undocumented change that allowed them to put hand infantry in them, and then zooms the Jaguar Prowlers around the map at 8 speed and 50% range res. And now they have 100 less HP, which means they can be sniped a hell of a lot easier.
Uber Eats your units.
So that one is noteworthy just for me and the people who watch my channel in particular. And Wagon Warfare. What did this
It's
card do?
It is the insane card that they added to South Africa last patch. It's the one that allows you to train Imperial War Wagon.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was really hoping it buffed Trek Wagons, but I guess it didn't. Cost increased to 1,000 wood, and now takes 60 seconds to arrive. Sure.
Yeah, I don't know how big of a nerf that is, because it's it's 600 extra wood, but you get access to the Imperial version of the War Wagon straight up after sending this card.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little strong.
United States. This is another one we're going to talk a little bit in depth about. The Continental Sappers now costs 800 coin up from 500 and sends 6 petards down from 10. This is the one that ships you stealth petards and enables the petards to have stealth, all your petards to have stealth, and allows you to train the stealth petards. Super funny build order. I made a build order that featured them, but was focused on the next unit that we'll talk about, the Knowlton Ranger. Yeah, this is just a funny nerf because they were like, oh yeah, we added stealth petards but didn't tell anybody, and then I was like, look, stealth petards. Like, fuck, you notice, nerf. All right, the Knowlton Rangers cost increased to 1,000 food from 500. And heavily limits benefits from agents, assassins, military drummers, and comparable cards. Now, this is funny because in that build order that I talked that focused on the Knowlton Rangers, I specifically pointed out how powerful agents, assassins, and military drummers were for the Knowlton Rangers by name. These, simply put, the Knowlton's Ranger was it wasn't broken because it required you revolt to get there. But once you were there, you were an unstoppable machine. Because what you got was a skirmisher, it was like a Marine-esque skirmisher that lacked any kind of heavy infantry multiplier, but had 30 damage, 20-something siege attack, and at 16 range, which could be upgraded to 20. And then it starts at 15, but then it got doubled to 30 with the Assassin's card. And with military drummers, they had 6.88 speed, enabling them to kite hussars by running away on foot faster than the hussars can reach you. It was hilarious. They also had a 8 times multiplier in against mercenaries and a 40 times multiplier against heroes or some shit like that. So if an Aztec player or a Lakota player drifted a little bit too close to their warship, dead. Or if somebody was like, oh man, all of these Knowlton Rangers are really, really powerful, I need to train Mamelukes. Nope, dead. But in exchange, they doubled the cost of the shipments, reduced hit points from 16 down to 12, and in addition to reducing the damage, also reduced the benefit of assassins and military drummers. Now they never really received much bonus from agents, but I did mention it in that thing. But what's important is what's funny is that this is specific to the Knowlton's Ranger and not the Spy, despite the fact that the Spy turns into the Knowlton's Ranger. So if you have spies and you get military drummers and then you send Knowlton's Rangers, they will actually lower their speed from 6.88 to 6.38, meaning they can be caught by cavalry, which is just so funny. And in addition to that, their negative multipliers against heavy cavalry now apply to all cavalry. Their range got reduced down to 12. Okay, so no, it's not their damage that got reduced, it's just their range. So they only get 50% extra damage from assassins now instead of 100%. And so this raises their attack from 15 to 22.5. And their range went from 16 upgradable to 20 to 12 upgradable to 16, making them much, much worse now. They're basically dead in the water, in addition to doubling the cost of actually getting them. So if you liked my video on Knowlton's Rangers and tried out the strategy a couple of times, it will no longer work. Just saying. Okay, and the other changes don't matter. The other changes don't matter. All right. All right. Any change? Any? What are you guys' total thoughts over the course of this update? Bisoner, you want to go
This
first?
sure thing. It's pretty much one of the best patches we ever had.
Except for all the bugs.
Yeah, the formal content added by the patch, pretty much the best one we've ever had. There's very few civs that were unchanged, namely China, France are still good as they are because they weren't changed, and Sweden is still as bad as it is due to being unchanged. But generally, it's a very good way to approach. I believe it's a very good way to approach balance like this, going for small changes for most civs, and just good, very good.
Steven?
Yeah, I agree with Proner regarding that it's a good direction for the patch. It pales honestly in comparison to the last patch, where we got all these glorious, new models and all this like wonderful stuff that we got added in. That was just so wonderful to see. Like all these new royal guard changes that made a lot of the old stuff feel fresh. And so we're not
In by
seeing
comparison, this was almost
anything
completely
new introduced in
Yeah.
here, except for apparently there's one new Hussar skin available for the Russians, apparently, according to Gideon. But we're not really seeing that sort of level of input. And, to be fair, I don't expect that of every patch, but it does kind of pale in comparison to that. But it is the right approach, at least from what we have in the patch notes, of small incremental changes,
now.
which is something that a lot of people, basically been saying for this game for a while. Like that's what we really need to see. It's turn dial slowly, because given how incredibly complex AoE 3 is in terms of its balance, like it makes honestly it probably makes every other RTS look kind of silly in terms of
Simple.
complexity, just because pretty simple, because we've got at this point 22 civs, I believe, that are all incredibly asymmetric. Like
There's not a single one of them that plays like the others.
They don't play like each other at all. And so it's really difficult to balance by nature. So these small incremental changes are good, very, very good. However, on the negative side, based on what we're already seeing coming out in posts on the forums, that we're seeing reported in Discords, on Reddit, all these things, is this patch is really, really bugged.
All right.
Like, it's really bugged. And even promised patch fixes that it was supposed to introduce, like my personal crusade, which is getting my stupid Francis Drake skin, hasn't been fixed, even though that was supposed to be included. So it's a lot of these promised broken things have been fixed and introduced a bunch of them.
Okay.
So it's not great.
All right, so for me and my personal thoughts on this patch, I am personally not satisfied with this patch. Now, don't get me wrong, from a balance perspective, and if you are somebody like Platypus Slayer who wants everything to revert back to its primeval form, a patch of nothing but balance changes involving almost complete nerfs across the board is fantastic. And again, balance-wise, the things that we've seen in this update are probably the most... It is really doing a lot of taking away so many of the ridiculous caps and shenanigans that were available to some of the other civilizations. However, and I even got a good deal of emotional satisfaction by having my first video that I made on the pup originally be confirmed by a developer as me being the cause for several nerfs across this game's lifespan, which was really, really cool. However, the thing is, and I know this is just a me thing, but my channel lives and dies on the weird and goofy. And my channel lives on the devs introducing a new mechanic that's really cool, and people are like, oh, that's kind of neat. And then I take it and bring it to its illogical conclusion, where it turns out that it's broken in the end game if you combine it with this really weird tech that nobody thinks about. That's my play style. That's how I play the game. And they have introduced very, very little for me to chew on and play around with and produce for my channel. And that's a shame for me, because this is, I think, the first update in a very long time where there isn't an obvious thing for me to latch onto and be like, they forgot about this, and then abuse people online with it, for lack of a better word. And obviously, yes, it's not good to use broken and abusive mechanics, but it's okay when you're a YouTuber, because then you publicize it. And then it gets nerfed, like Inquisitors and the Nutka ruts. So I justify it to myself for using broken strategies, as long as they're not meta broken strategies. And I don't see a lot of opportunity for that with this update, which is kind of sad. But on the other hand, it means that the devs did a really good job, because they're not enabling me. If they kill my channel, then that means they made a balanced game. That's what I can say. Because my channel lives on the absurd, and that really is what it lives on. So I think that'll do it for today, gentles and ladymen. I've been Bison. Steven's been Steven. Bisoner's been Bisoner. I think you could have guessed that on your own. And have a great day, and goodbye.